and the processor can read it. It means it's an array. In your C program, let's say it's like an array, the array has the data. Only thing is, this array is connected to a pointer, and that pointer is the one which is actually location in a DMA, so that now you access, on the next timer interrupt you access, this data is different. Now you access the variable, it is this image now. Let's say it is the video data. Next timer interrupt you access the same DMA with the same pointer, it is the next frame of the video. Got it? Now bottom line I want to say like this. If you know the VHDL coding FPGA implementation, signal processing, image processing, implementation wise not far than anything what we have taught to your students. Registers, combination logic only, but the significance is what? That register on every clock cycle is assuming a different, is getting a different values which is coming out from the real world. Maybe from camera sensor, maybe from speed sensor. Whereas if it comes to software implementation, your memory or nothing but a variable is going to have the camera, the image data or a video data. That's it. Okay. So what is important? The important thing is here you have no data. What to implement is most important. It means, see, you have speech samples now, every 1,000 samples. What is it you want to do? You have to perform FFT on it, and you have to perform Dirichlet transform on it. So most important thing is, once you have the image data or microphone data available in your platform, what algorithm to be implemented? Now you see the algorithm implementation, different levels of abstraction. In MATLAB, you just call FFT, it does the job for you. Okay? But when the same FFT, when you want to implement inside an FPGA, either you have two options. Run your own FFT algorithm, or if there is a standard component from Xilinx, use it. Now that will have timing issues. It means you give sample by sample value, it takes some clock cycles, maybe 10,000 clock cycles, then at output again it gives xk, it takes xn, output it gives xk, one by one value. You got the point? So implementation wise, yes, definitely there will be a difference when you are doing it. Let us say you want to do it on DSP processor, some TMS 320 DSP processor, or you want to do it on some ARM11 platform. One of the sessions we will talk about what is called OpenCV framework on the ARM11 platform, where there is a library called FFT. So when you already have a library, you have to understand what input-output mechanism it follows and do it. So what I am trying to say, bottom line, if you know what to do, implementation is not that difficult today, because you have enough number of, example codes, reference designs. In FPGA they are called IP codes, in processor they are called libraries, signal processing libraries, support on all different platforms. If you go to GPU, you have CUDA platform supporting different libraries. If you go to ARM11 and all, and Zinc, which is Xilinx FPGA, you have what's called OpenCV. Okay, that we will discuss. And one demo also we are planning to show on that OpenCV what we are doing. These are all different things. So point to be noted is, what to implement is more important than how to implement. And I'm telling you can definitely leverage from the efforts of your students, implementation wise, tools wise and all. Okay. Now, frequency. This is something which is well known. You can skip this. Go to next. Okay. Now here I wanted again. I'm trying to iterate. Understanding the concept can help you. Now look at this tool. Now, out of these two, which one is having high frequency content? First or second? First one. So high frequency means rapid variation, right? So if you see in this image, when I go along x and y axis, I see more number of changes in comparison with the second image. So this is having high frequency content. So point to be noted, frequency is all the time not reciprocal to time. Frequency is actually reciprocal to independent variable. So if the independent variable is actually space, now in image processing it is actually space. So high frequency, low frequency. What it means? You want to build a low pass filter. So you build a low pass filter and pass this one through it, you are likely to get this one, because low frequencies get filtered out. Okay. So another point which I want to highlight here, you have to enhance your thinking of filtering when it comes to frequency is not all the time 1 by t. It is 1 by whatever independent variable for which you are implementing. Okay. Yeah. Go next. This is something which is well known. Okay. Okay. Skip it. Skip it. These are known. Yes, go to next. Go to next slide. Go back. Okay. Now this is what I was trying to cover. The power is not there. I was trying to cover about what is digital signal processing. Very simple to interpret, both time time and other dependent variables are discrete in nature. So I am sampling here, and sample also is quantized to one of the level. Okay, go to next. It is pure number crunching. DSP, planning wise, algorithm wise, you may talk about Wavelet transform, cosine transform, that, this, function, frequency, time and all. But when it comes to your implementation, addition, multiplication, delay, or subtraction, or division, that much. It is pure number crunching. So point to be noted, go next. Point to be noted is, it is a manipulation of numbers, DSP. Discrete, both in independent, as we know. Arithmetic operations have got signal processing meaning. That's the important point to be noted. Arithmetic operations carry signal processing meaning. Okay? Now, simple. You know, what I am doing is, let's say I am getting a stream of numbers. I am getting a stream of numbers. What I do, I will take 4 numbers and average. Okay? Average 4 numbers. One number goes, now next new number. This 4 average. One number goes, another new number. Old 3 values, one new value, average. Now this is arithmetic. But you know what is the meaning of it? This is called moving average filter. Okay? Moving average filter is a simple low pass filter where all the coefficients are 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. I mean 4 coefficients. It is a simple low pass filter which is called moving average filter. What I am trying to say, arithmetic operations are the only implementation thing and they carry signal processing meaning. And the important quality a researcher need to have, what is the meaning of each arithmetic operation you should know. Okay? Yeah. Then next. This is something what is called offline DSP, online DSP. I think you can understand this. Offline DSP means in real time we don't have to produce results for it. Maybe something called you have some data given. You analyze, take 1 hour time, analyze and give some outcome. That is one thing. The other thing is you are getting some data in real time. You need to process and do something. Then it becomes actually online DSP. Let's say in today's cameras you get what is called face detection or smile detection. Can it be offline or it has to be online? Smile detection, I take a photograph. It has to be online. Okay, he smiles now. You recognize and take photograph later, that is not acceptable. It has to be online DSP. So online DSP is what today expected. It is not compulsory that online DSP means you have to go for hardware implementation. It is not compulsory. Even processors also will be able to give you the processing maybe in a few seconds or few milliseconds time. But when you don't work even that, let's say I want to work in microseconds level, then you have to go for FPG, definitely. Okay, go next. Okay, discrete then for this all I think I can explain. Okay. Now go back to no correlation. Maybe this is a point where I want to ask one more question. See, all of us we write that Fourier transform equation, right? Continuous time Fourier transform. Discrete and Fourier transform equation. But can you people explain it without looking into mathematics? Without mathematics, how can you interpret a Fourier transform equation? So again I want to highlight, if we are missing qualitative meaning means maybe tomorrow we won't be able to use it also. Or maybe tomorrow we won't be able to find an alternative for this also. So qualitative interpretation is the key. Any equation can be qualitatively explained. Any graph can be qualitatively explained. So how can you explain a Fourier transform?
Harmonically related sinusoid.
So what? I mean, what does the equation tell? Why are we doing minus infinity plus infinity x of t e power minus and all? Whatever total thing you are doing to the equation, tell without the equation. Or you can tell what is the meaning of the equation. Both are independently, same.
Signal has a frequency where multiplying from minus infinity to infinite frequency ranges. On each sinusoidal signal is multiplied with the actual signal, and we are finding whether the actual option is there.
Exactly. So what he said is right. The bottom line, in most of the signal processing operations is a correlation. It carries a plenty of importance. You have to study this. Usually in signal processing subjects, this is neglected. We talk in the last chapter, last 2 paragraphs, autocorrelation function, cross correlation function, end of the story. But in fact, this is the heart of basically DSP. Look at your Fourier transform. What actually it is, x of t is unknown signal. I multiply it with e power minus j 2 pi f t, which is cos and sine. Okay, leave cos and sine. It is one frequency at f. So what I am doing, I am taking x of t over minus infinity infinite time to plus infinite time, I am multiplying with the single frequency component. Then the multiplied product I am summing up and getting a number. This number I am telling it as the energy of x of t at that frequency f. It is at one frequency f, no, next frequency f. Again you have e power minus j 2 pi f t at that f, multiply total xt infinite duration, integrate with sum of, then you get one more number, that is at the new value of the f, the energy of the signal. This is what the Fourier transform. Okay? This is what the Fourier transform. Even if you do it also, you get like that only. Maybe minus infinity to plus infinity, you approximate by 1 lakh samples, take the signal, multiply and sum, you get actually FFT. If you reorganize your equation, you see it is nothing but actually multiply and sum only in the discrete domain. Okay? Anyway, bottom line is what correlation is the key. I know, do read more about it. Go to next. Yeah, this is the equation which we discussed now. Go next. Now, this is the important concept from which all your wavelet transform, cosine transform, all this becomes significant. Why we require wavelet transform? Why can't the Fourier transform do everything job for you? And what is first of all transform concept? Signal is in time domain. You want it to transform into some standard functions. This is discussed in signal system books. We call certain functions as eigenfunctions. Okay, eigenfunctions are a set of series of functions. By summing these eigenfunctions with appropriate multiplying factors and adding together, you can reconstruct the original signal. Okay, so in your Fourier transform, the eigenfunctions happen to be cosine and sine values. Okay, cosine and sine functions. So what is the problem with that cosine and sine function and Fourier transform is, this is which is also interestingly an important topic in physics. Okay, time, frequency, uncertainty. A signal cannot be precisely characterized both in time and frequency precisely. You want to characterize precisely in frequency, your precision goes actually in time. You want to precisely characterize in time, your precision goes in actually frequency. Maybe I can give an example. How? See, you want to tell precisely energy at f. What is the theoretical equation says? Minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay? Practically minus infinity plus infinity may not be there, but at least you take 10,000 samples. Since you are taking 10,000 samples over 10,000 samples time, you are able to tell what is the frequency. But if I ask that frequency when it has got popped up, you can tell within this 10,000 samples the energy of that frequency. Next to 10,000 samples, the energy of the frequency. But in time domain, your precision has lost. You want to improve the precision in frequency domain, the 10,000 you have to make 1 lakh. Isn't it? Now you count, your sampling time is Ts. Earlier the time precision was how much? 10,000 to Ts. Now your time precision is actually how much? 1 lakh into Ts. Are you going back in time or not? What is the time precision? I should be able to tell this nanosecond what happened, next nanosecond what happened. What is my frequency domain? This 1 Hz what is energy? This 1 Hz what is energy? I want to go accurate in one, I get suffered in other one. You got it? Now this is something problem. This is a serious problem. What is the problem in this? So I will tell you this problem in a other way. What can be compromised for this problem? We can actually think out of simple heuristics, simple examples. You are giving salaries to, let us say, a kind of maybe a staff working in your department, okay, someone. You are giving to someone salary 100 rupees, okay. To the other one you are giving 1,000 rupees. For somebody you are giving 10,000 rupees. But the point is, the round off that you have chosen is same. Okay, for someone who is giving 230 also you are rounding off to 200. Okay, 10,320 also you are rounding off to 10,300. But that's not fair, isn't it? At 200, 300, 10 rupees also is significant. At 10,000, 100 may not be significant. At 1 lakh, 1,000 may not be significant. Exactly, this is the bottom line in wavelet transform. Okay, what wavelet transform says, or what wavelet transform looks at the fundamental principle. When you want to frequency accuracy, at 1 Hz, 2 Hz, 3 Hz, Hz accuracy is significant. But when you go to, what is that called? When you go to 1 MHz, 2 MHz and all, even I don't mind if I get compute here and compute after 100 kHz. You understand? So, yeah. Okay. Now, what I am trying to explain, the fundamental principle in wavelet transform is which cannot be achieved through what's called frequency transform, which is called STFT, short-term Fourier transform. Okay. What it does, it has different ideal functions. So go to next. Okay, now look at this graph. This is actually FFT only. When you, your theoretical FFT says minus infinity to plus infinity. Practically FFT, definitely you don't do it to minus infinity to plus infinity. You do it over a period of time. So now look at this graph. This is an example of a radar signal, which is actually changing its frequency. This is called linear frequency modulation type radar, LFM. It is also called chip radar. Okay. Now I want to characterize that in the time frequency scale. Now this is time. Look at, and this is frequency. Now what we are doing? Now over this period of time, we compute which frequency is dominant. This period of time, which is dominant. This period of time, which is dominant. You are getting my point? This is called short-time Fourier transform. In simple words, short-time Fourier transform is nothing but, implementing FFT over continuous periods of time. Isn't it? Instead of your equation being minus infinity to plus infinity, make it 1000, 10,000 and all. Now you see what's the problem. I want to get accurate here, I lose accuracy here. Got it? So go to next. Now look at, this is what the problem. Short-time Fourier transform gives this kind of plane. You are able to see this is something similar to your graph, XY graph, which we use for integer linear programming in some mathematical problems. Okay? These are uniformly spaced in this one, not sensible, right? At zero frequency also, your frequency resolution is only this much. At gigahertz also this much. In time also, at zero time also this much. In 1 hour also the resolution is this much. What Wavelet transform does, it gives this kind of plane. In Wavelet transform, we have different functions. Now look at mathematics wise, Fourier transform, Wavelet transform look similar. The only difference is, instead of e power minus j 2 pi ft, you have something called wavelet function. Okay, there will be a mother wavelet function and there will be derivatives. Something similar to fundamental and harmonics. Similar to that. I don't say exactly same. But what is the bottom line? Why you are going to that? You are going because, now you see, at low frequency, our frequency steps are small. At high frequency, it is large. Similarly in time, like that. Okay? I think this is a little bit. So what I am trying to explain, all Fourier transform, Wavelet transform, cosine transform, or tomorrow you coin a new transform, they all are mapping your signal from independent variable. It could be time domain or space domain, depending on speech signal or image signal, into a new plane. Okay? What is the advantage you get by mapping into new plane? Plenty. What is the fundamental thing which people could figure it out by doing Wavelet transform? What they did is, if you go by normal Fourier transform, do your Fourier series analysis, all frequency components are carrying good amount of energy. There is no way that you could actually save some memory or compress audio or video. But what Wavelet transform did, if you apply Wavelet transform, there are 100 Wavelet components, they corresponding multiplying factors. You can map it similar to Fourier series multiplying factors, Fourier coefficients, what we call. In Wavelet, they only figured out only 10% or 20% of coefficients in a real image carry 90% of information. Now that is what the bottom for your JPEG compression. Okay, only keep those Wavelet coefficients remaining on neutron. It is definitely lossy compression, but quite a good amount of information is reproduced. I think I am trying to tell what is the purpose of all these transformations. Okay, tomorrow you may coin your own new transformation. The new transformation may have a special purpose. Okay, am I keeping it very close? Okay, go next. Now this is also you ignore now. I don't have much time. Okay, go further. Now this is how practically you interpret an image. The image, so many pixels. You zoom into some zone. These are the pixel intensities. You look into its equivalent digital values which are coming into your processor are FPGA. The black one is 0, little bit whiter one is 221, full white is 255. It is a 8-bit grayscale image. Okay, where 0 corresponds to complete black, 255 corresponds to full white, and all in between levels are different gray levels. Now that's what a black and white image. So once you want to do image processing algorithm, having coined what to do, it is all playing with numbers. Okay, if you want to do it on FPGA, you need a strong team working on VHDL, Verilog kind of thing. You want to do it on processor, you need a good team working on pointers, address mapping, arrays, multiplications, interrupts, timers and all. DMA definitely. Okay, yeah. Go next. Okay, you can quickly We don't have time for doing that. This is an interesting topic, worth of discussing at least for 2 days. Multi-rate DSP, and I am ready. Okay, if at least I can say 28 participants are ready, I can come down again. We can have a discussion on this. Okay, it's a very interesting topic. Go next. And random variables. Very interesting, but I don't think I have time. Go next. Again, one more question. How this graph has come? I am trying to, throughout my lecture, I am trying to emphasize only one thing. Interpreting graphs, interpreting equation is the first point for research. Okay? How this graph has come? This is a popular Gaussian distribution function, right? Isn't it? And we all remember probably equation for it also. I don't need anything. Experimentally, how this graph can come? You are in a circuit lab. Okay? You know pretty well your white noise is one of the source of white noise is your thermal noise. Okay? That K, T, B, that one. You put already at room temperature there is some thermal noise. So you take a high precision multimeter. You got a wire where there is a thermal noise. Now you sit across a bench and show how this graph can come. Any answers? What's the time? Yeah. Quick. Shall I? All of us actually I think we usually don't like Gaussian distribution, right? That's why we have complicated equation and complicated curve also. But it's a bell shape, something like that. Okay? How this graph can come in a circuit lab? Definitely you know it is a white noise. Your textbook says it is a white noise, it is a Gaussian noise. This graph has to come. How it will come? Simple. You sit across multimeter, keep noting down, you see what is the voltage node, note down. What is the voltage node, note down. What is the voltage node, note down. Now these voltages, do your school mathematics. In your 9th class, 10th class, statistics, there is a subject where you studied about intervals. Okay? Now all these noise voltages, see how many times, let's say you made 1000 readings. In 1000 readings, how many times the reading is between okay, I can't see clearly these numbers, and minus 30 to minus 20, assume they are millivolts. How many times? So what is the y-axis now? Y-axis is frequency. How many times the random noise has fallen into that interval? So x-axis is the interval and y-axis is actually what? The frequency, how many it has fallen. This is nothing but Gaussian curve. Now question may come, why it is this curve? That I am not pretty sure, must be it's a God-wish. It has to come in that shape, but that is a Gaussian noise. Got it? So point to be understood, once we don't understand the probability density function in this style, when you have to apply in your research problem tackling a Gaussian random variable, you will actually miss. You don't know how to generate this graph or you don't know how to handle this graph. Okay? So x-axis is nothing but the variable value. So this is a different domain. So you are going to see how many equations in your research. Time domain equations, space domain equations. You got it? Space and time domain equation because image processing. Definitely the random domain because there is a random variable. You like it or not, noise is something which is essential part of it. Why we have to care about noise? It is everywhere, but that is not the only reason. Noise is random, our information is also random. Okay, out of two randoms, one is our friendly, other one is not our friend. So we should know how to tackle that. The only thing that can help us is a distribution function. Okay, go next. Now, so we study about what is called the characteristics of randomness. Okay, now go to next. These are all high-five words, right? Probably these are the last topics in our, maybe our students also will say we can leave it out of choice. We also say, okay, remember equation, ergodicity and all. But let me tell you, that is the bottom line and that's the reason why you are studying actually statistical theory. Now, why we have to study about this, random distribution, standard deviation, variance, why all this, what is significance of them? I think, go to next slide. Go to next. Go to next. Now, having told this one, somebody should be able to answer my question. Why we are so much interested to estimate the standard deviation variance of all them? Okay, I'll leave this as an open question to you. I think we can have chat across maybe YouTube or some mails. Okay, yeah. It's important. Means there is an important characteristic for random variables. Whatever your standard deviation variance you study, they are nothing but AC power, DC power, RMS power, like that. Okay, there is a connectivity, and the one which connects is called ergodicity. And this is the last chapter in our random variable subject. Usually the neglected topic, but that's the one which connects actually random variables to our circuit theory. Okay, go next. So I'll leave it for the next speaker. We have probably another 40 minutes. Okay. Okay. You can come. You can see to whatever extent we can grow. You can start your session.